Last week's CinemaCon gave us a whole bunch of weird news that apparently we get nothing but announcements about. There's no trailers or anything like that. God, no. Apparently CinemaCon likes to keep things to themselves and only actually give things publicly like 2 weeks after. So I'm not really happy about that. But there is some interesting news from there. There is also a trailer with old-ass Denzel still thinking he can do action movies. And we also have first reactions from 2 pretty massive superhero movies from this year as well. We also wanted to have a bit of a discussion about those little movies that come across or come along every once in a while that we already know how they're going to end, but we still kind of get really into them anyway. Weirdly, how do movies do that? We'll have that discussion too. All of it, much more on today's show. Welcome to the madness. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Monday Madness with Morgan and the Machine. I've realised we don't have captions for today, Jeannine, so perhaps we'll have to create some over the course of today's episode.
Yes,
and also,
perhaps.
my intros always go on for like a minute, don't they? Because I waffle on about all sorts of nonsense that I really should just leave to the show itself, but never seem to.
No, you're always one for a very bombastic intro. I'm very much like this and this and this and this. Welcome to the madness. So yours are much more concise than mine. Mine
certainly
are
not more
very,
concise.
Mine are
Yours
not. No, mine are not very. Mine are pretty awkward, I think. But I'm trying.
Yours are direct and concise and to the point, and here's what you're getting.
Yeah.
Mine's just me waffling on and nobody wants to hear that. That's when people go, oh, we won't bother watching this episode. The numbers are down that week for us because I've introed the show. But no, we do actually have quite a few interesting announcements to get into because it was CinemaCon last week. Obviously, after we had last Monday's did we have an episode last Monday? We did. We did have an episode last
double
Monday.
review. Yeah.
Yes, of course it was. And CinemaCon started actually last Monday, I think, didn't it? And went into like Thursday or something like that. But we got some fun things from there. And because there's no big movie release this week or this past weekend, there's no big review today. So we wanted to make the Let's Talk into actually more of a discussion because it's been a little while since we've done something like that. First, we do have a lot of What's Up topics to get into. Jeannine, should I just simply go ahead and ask the question? So, Jeannine.
So many things are top, Morgan.
What are we starting with?
Well, I mean, we got a ton of stuff out of CinemaCon, but we also got a new trailer. You mentioned, not so politely, kind of dissing Mr. Denzel.
I do not diss Mr. Denzel Washington. The fact of the matter is,
I believe your words were old ass Denzel.
Old ass Denzel.
He can still do action movies. I'd say his action in The Equalizer looks a whole lot better than whatever Liam Neeson is still trying to do.
I will be honest with you, so do I. I really like The Equalizer. I really like Denzel Washington. The fact of the matter is, though, the man is definitely in his mid-60s.
Yes, but I mean, I commend him for the type of career he's had, for him to delve into something more fun like this, action-packed, a franchise. That's not something common for him, or
no, it isn't.
Of his kind of stature that he's built up over his career. So
his theatrical nature.
Yes. So I like the idea that he's kind of doing something a little more loose and fun and really kind of just different and very, I guess, populous and mainstreamy kind of vibes.
Yeah. I feel
as
like
opposed to very independent and serious and deep and, gravitas type things. So
yes, to Denzel Washington now because I
That
do
was a
really,
little
I
harsh,
always,
I'd say.
it was an intro comment that I
Yes.
couldn't elaborate on simply. I do like Denzel Washington. I do like the Equalizer movies. I do, or at least I've definitely seen the second one, and I definitely remember quite liking the second one as kind of this. Although I do remember actually feeling it was like 20 minutes too long. It's one of
Yeah,
those
I
kind of
haven't seen the second
franchises,
one
isn't
in
it?
a while, so I want to revisit it for sure. This one's going to be international. It looks like he kind of
Yes, we're in
makes a
Italy.
bond with an Italian family and they're being threatened. And so it's up to him to kind of protect this new home and family he's made for himself. It looks maybe like, a very much a reluctant fighter type situation where, he's trying to settle down and not have to live this life anymore. But out
Yeah,
of just sheer circumstances, he's kind of pulled back in order to protect these people who he's kind of made a family with. Also, nice little reunion of him and Dakota Fanning. So I think that's really fun as well.
yeah,
Her
yeah.
popping up in this movie since they did The Man on Fire so many years ago, which I think was also Fuqua. So makes sense there. But I saw a fun little kind of interview moment where he was like, when I met you, you were like 9. I swore I was meeting like a 40-something-year-old woman. You were not
Dakota
9. You were
Fanning.
like 40.
Dakota Fanning did seem to always play very mature children
Yes,
in her
yes,
kid roles, though, didn't she?
yes.
Which I suppose is probably why he thought he was meeting a 40-year-old woman in a
Yeah,
9-year-old's body, because that's
yeah,
pretty much what she was.
yeah.
But no, I'm into the Equalizer, and I'm into this or the look of this third movie. Anything where you go into Italy, I mean, yes, obviously Italy, great. I like Italy, but also the reluctant fighter, the reluctant last gasp hero kind of situation. The
Yeah, it's
guy
great.
who is trying to calm himself down. He's lived a life, a
Yeah.
hectic life, a fast paced life. He's trying to calm himself down. He moves, obviously to a different country at this point, um, or in any story, in any movie like this. You move places. Your past catches up with you, or
Yeah.
you get involved in one last battle due to your own reputation and things like
Yeah.
that.
Mhm.
I love, 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 love stories like that. I love movies like that. And this just looks like obviously more of a heavier action version of that usually kind of drama based
Yeah.
story, which I do like. I do
Yeah.
like that. And Denzel's always great. I mean, never bet against Denzel Washington because he will always deliver the goods. He will, even in his mid
Yes.
60s doing action movies, he will do a perfectly fine job in this movie.
Yes, and I've liked the character over these past few films, and again, just like seeing Denzel having a little bit of fun in his career and doing something a little bit different and not as kind of all about a grand, Oscar-worthy performance, but just
As
solid
great as he is at that.
solid story and fun action. So, there was the first movie I think came out in that era of like old man action, where we had I think like November Man with Pierce Brosnan and obviously the
Okay.
Taken movies and then the first
Is it,
Equalizer. So
has
we
the
were
first Equalizer really been, is it really been that long?
I feel like it was quite a while ago. So um yeah, I think him to be able to continue it on and really still have an interesting story, and I think even there's a TV series with Queen Latifah, and um,
Oh,
so
okay.
yeah, so
I
I
feel like
think
that's definitely an Amazon Prime show, isn't it? That feels like an Amazon
I
Prime
think
type
it's
show.
it's a streaming show, yeah, and yeah, I
No,
mean
not
obviously
even just a streaming show. I mean, like specifically
specifically a
Amazon
network, yeah.
show.
I want to say it's like Paramount or something. I can't remember
Oh,
though.
okay. Maybe I'm
Um,
thinking of Jack Ryan
Oh, maybe.
because
And so
that's
yeah, and
Amazon.
obviously I think when was the original show like in the 70s or something.
Oh yeah,
Um
yeah.
So the fact that they're able to kind of take the idea of this old show and turning into this really fun franchise with a great actor at its center, and even like another show, yeah, they're really like something you maybe wouldn't expect to really get much out of, and really still being able to tell some interesting, stories. And I think with
Yeah.
Denzel at the heart of it, it definitely pulls more, what's the word I'm looking for? Um,
Punches. Pulls more punches.
pulls more, gives it
Weight.
more validation, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah.
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 Credibility.
Yes, that's the word I'm looking for.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that's fair. I do think that's fair. I do remember seeing Equalizer 2 because it was when I had my summer in LA. Was when
Oh.
Equalizer 2 came out. So that's 2018. So it's been
Yeah.
that long since the second one. So the first one might have been like 2013 or something
Something
like
like
that.
that. Yeah. Yeah.
When
So, yeah, the
might be
trailer looked
a
pretty good
10 years, might be 10 years and only 3 movies for Denzel as
for
the
this
Equalizer, something
franchise.
like that.
Yeah. So yeah, looks pretty good. But we did get a ton of things coming out of CinemaCon. We're obviously not going to cover everything, so we just kind of
No.
cherry picked some things that kind of piqued our interest in terms of what was announced. And I think we got a lot of people who were there just giving us kind of synopses of scenes that they were shown there, and kind of breakdowns of what was announced. So
Yeah.
in horror news, we got the title for the new Exorcist film, so it's The Exorcist Believer. Justin Bieber has kind of tainted that word for everyone. So,
Well, I think that's fair. Look, I'm going to be honest with you. Mainly the stuff that we have written down from CinemaCon is horror related, mainly because
yeah,
it's kind of who we are. You might
yes.
think about Justin Bieber when you hear the word "The Exorcist Believer." My sign today is "I'm a believer." So what I want them to do in The Exorcist Believer is open the movie with a really dark choral version of "I'm a Believer."
Oh my gosh.
And and then I saw her face, and it's just Reagan's face.
Yes. Well, I mean, that's what they
This is
do.
what
That's
I
what they do in
want.
these trailers. That the trailer is going to have some dark version of that song.
This is what I want. This is what I need. This makes sense to me. This
Is
makes sense to
Smash
me.
Mouth going to sing?
No, not that one. Not the one from Shrek. No, the original "I'm a Believer."
Yes,
But
yes.
dark, but like really turn it down,
Oh
really
yeah, slow
slow
and
it
echoey,
down.
creepy voices. And
Yes.
yes, yeah,
But
yes.
does it
But
not work perfectly? And then I saw her face, and it be Reagan or some other such
yeah,
possessed
so
child.
it's a I think it's another child or another person, and Ellen Burstyn comes in to kind of share like this
Yes.
is what, because it's the same demon that possessed Reagan. So she kind of comes in as somebody who, lived through the
The
situation.
Zuzu's
And
back.
yes. So that's kind of just what we got, that Ellen Burstyn is returning, that it's kind of her coming
You knew
in
that
because it's the
anyway,
same
though.
demon. And yeah, so I mean, I would love to see Linda Blair like come back as well, but I don't know that is something that's happening. But
It would be. I mean, it would be great.
yeah.
It would be great because this is a legacy sequel. It is a legacy
Yeah,
sequel.
she's
Bring
iconic
them all
for
back
that
for
movie. Yeah.
the legacy sequels, the horror
Yes.
legacy sequels. And every major horror movie has to have a legacy sequel these days. The least we can hope for is that it's good. David Gordon Green's obviously behind this
Yes,
one as well.
with
And
his kind of legacy horror trilogy under his belt. So,
yes, we
think
know
think
what
what
he's
you
done with
will.
Halloween.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we know what he's done. Um,
But we also know how he started with his Halloween
yes,
legacy
it was
sequel,
just
because
solid start.
Halloween 2018 is great. I really
Yes,
like Halloween
yes,
2018.
yes. I always compare that trilogy to um, the Star Wars new trilogy.
But I mean, you could do because I suppose everybody agrees that the first one's pretty good.
Yes, and really core in the nostalgia and the connections to
Yeah,
the original film. The second
Halloween
one
Kills.
is doing something different.
Yeah, some people really liked it. I think I was one of those people.
Some people really
hated
hated
it.
it, but
And then the last one
tried to say something interesting, and then the last one just throws everything at the wall and tries to see what sticks. So, yes, I've made that comparison before, but
I do think, though, Halloween Ends will be reviewed in years to come as in a completely different light, because I really do think it's so far away from the movie that everybody was expecting it to be, that I think it took so many people, I think it took us all so off guard.
Yeah.
And I think if we were to rewatch Halloween Ends, not even as a singular movie, watch it as a singular movie. Don't even focus it in the whole realm of Halloween, the whole realm of Michael Myers and the obviously monstrous legacy that's with that character, with that franchise. Viewed it as the movie about that one Corey's his name guy.
Yeah.
Then I think it's actually a really great kind of obsession movie.
Yeah, and also kind of what the Rise of Skywalker did was kind of not really adhere to what came before.
Yes, and that's exactly
went on its own path. Yes,
exactly.
So I mean, feel what you feel about that trilogy. I think David Gordon Green does have something interesting to say and does have an interesting horror perspective. So, I mean, I'm not going to fault him for, or go into this Exorcist movie, really thinking negatively. So, yeah, I'm very hopeful. I've only seen The Exorcist a few times, so it's not one of those horror movies that are very, precious to me, but I thought it was a great iconic. I get why it kind of sits where it sits in terms of great horror films, and I love the idea of Ellen Burstyn coming back, because I love the concept of a nostalgia kind of legacy sequel. I love that concept just because of the fun it brings and the nostalgia it brings. So yeah, I'm excited for this movie. I'm not sure about that title because I have Belieber in my head.
Yeah, the title is silly. Legacy sequel titles are always awkward because do you call it the same thing that the original movie was called, like Halloween did,
like Scream did,
but Scream was
did it in a meta
different
funny
thing
way.
because itself Scream can get away with it.
Yeah.
But so many obviously use just the title of the original or whatever it may be. But Believer, I don't really love that. But aside, there's been so many good movies with bad or bland or boring titles that what does a title matter if you're actually interested in going to see the movie, which I very much am. The Exorcist itself was always a movie that I've brought up on many shows for years and years that I've done in the past and what have you, as one of those seminal horror movies that I never quite loved as much as most other people did. I would always say, well, The Omen's better than The Exorcist as far as mainstream religious 70s horror goes. I am Team Omen. And don't get me wrong, I'm still very much Team Omen. The Omen is, for my money, a perfect horror movie. But I have matured into The Exorcist, I think. I don't think I quite got The Exorcist when I first saw it. I don't think I quite... Because it's not about the demon, it's about Karras. It's not... It's all about Karras and his own guilt and his own depression and just wanting to do one good thing. It's actually about the Exorcist, not the demon. So, and I for some reason, I didn't grasp onto that. I have matured into appreciating The Exorcist far more now than I ever used to.
Yeah.
and can, you know, get fully behind the greatness that is that movie now.
Yeah.
What this movie's going to do, I have no idea, but I want it to take itself as seriously as The Exorcist
Yes, definitely.
takes itself. Ellen Burstyn back is a great thing, because Ellen Burstyn is very old,
Yeah.
and yes, I love her for doing that. As for Linda Blair, we obviously don't know. We don't think.
Yeah, I think that would have been
She's
kind
in
of big
there.
news to announce there if it was happening for
It
sure.
would.
So
It would have been. It's. Is it a missed opportunity that maybe she's not there? Who knows? Because would first of all, would Linda Blair be interested? And second of all, in the context of the story, you have Ellen Burstyn coming in to teach you, not to teach you, I suppose, but
just
as
to give her
somebody who has
perspective,
gone
who
through
knows,
this
yeah,
before.
and what you can do, I guess, to
Because really, Reagan had no idea
what was
how she
happening
dealt
to
with
her.
anything.
Yeah.
She didn't know. It
Yeah.
was all, she was just completely taken over. So she actually, I don't think, could have any insight anyway.
Yeah, that is true. But I think just the idea of
So,
seeing her again is like, you know, and I feel like she's somebody who um looks back on that as a highlight in her career, and does
well, very much
is
so.
not very much adverse to that again type
No,
attitude.
very much so.
So yeah, so I'd see her like, you know, being open to coming back if she was asked. But who knows if they've even, if that's kind of the direction they're going. But if not,
Yeah.
I'm glad Ellen Burstyn's back, somebody who actually witnessed it and can attest to what was going on. So I think that's a cool thing to bring in, that legacy aspect. But yes, we also got the kind of synopsis of the third Quiet Place movie, Quiet Place Day One. So we're not following our usual family. We are actually going to see the alien outbreak happening in a big city, New York. It's going to have Lupita Nyong'o, and it just kind of why are you shaking your head?
I'm not shaking my head at anything you're saying, by the way, because Lupita Nyong'o, yes, obviously, we love Lupita Nyong'o. She's wonderful. Particularly, you know, I'm interested in a more of a mainstream horror to see Lupita Nyong'o. The only other remotely horror-based thing I've seen her in, and the only other remotely based horror thing I believe she's done, is Little Monsters.
Well, us. You're forgetting
Oh,
about
us. God, what am I? I'm an idiot. I am an idiot. Anyway,
But
what
yes,
I
Little
was
Monsters
talking
as
about
well.
with Little Monsters, I was talking about the, you know, there's a certain group dynamic to that movie, you know, that's kind of running away from an infestation situation, which is a
Yeah,
little bit what A Quiet Place is. It's not an infestation, but it's, you know,
an
coming
invasion.
together at a moment's notice to deal with
Yeah.
something serious. Us, why did I forget about Us? I don't know why I forgot about Us. Please forgive me. My brain is frazzled
No, that's
because
okay.
Us is one of the great horror performances of the last 10 years from
Yeah.
Lupita Nyong'o, and I temporarily forgot it existed. But I really love that, and I really love that she's going to be in this movie. I hope it feels significantly different to those other Quiet Place movies. And I was shaking my head at the fact it's called A Quiet Place Day One. And why we have to do this with sequel titles?
Well, I mean, I think I was kind of annoyed with it in terms, because I'm like, didn't we already pretty much get a glimpse at Day One in Quiet Place 2? But now seeing that it's following different people and kind of, you know, taking it out of the small town aspect and taking it
Why
into a
can't
big
you call
city,
it?
that's it's Day One of this invasion in another place. So I don't hate it after kind of hearing the synopsis breakdown of of the fact that, you know, how does this look in a very loud place like New York City on the first day of this whole thing happening. So I mean, I
Which,
think it makes sense
yes,
in terms of that. So I don't hate it.
is obviously a very interesting idea and gets me excited to see this movie, gets me into seeing this movie. I want, yes, give it to me now. Is basically my attitude on this movie, because that is fascinating. And I imagine we're going to kind of 28 days later up New York, aren't we, to make it look like, look at New York, but there's nobody there. A bit like I Am Legend did. We're gonna, it's New York, but there's nobody there. And it's gonna look really great.
Yeah.
It always looks great when you do stuff like that. But again, it's the name situation. And I understand why they do it. Of course they do it because the public then realizes, we all then realize, oh, it's a Quiet Place movie. I like those. I'm going to go and see this one. I am a robot who just watches the same movies. Why can't you call it A Silent City? Ooh, A Silent City?
But it's not a silent city.
About?
That's the whole thing.
But it is because it has to become that.
Okay.
It has to become a silent city.
Okay.
The city that never sleeps. Oh, why can't you give it a pulpy title?
Okay.
It can still be the same movie. Even call it A Quiet City. So it looks like A Quiet Place. Have it use the same font, so you kind of know it's A Quiet Place.
Okay.
But it's not like a boring title with a colon title. Colon titles. Get out of my face, colon titles. I don't like them. And everything uses colon titles.
Well, I mean, I don't hate it. I think it's very to the point. And just knowing that it's not about, because we saw day one, we saw glimpses of day one with completely different people. So I think
John
in this
Krasinski on the baseball, on the Little League
yes.
baseball.
So I think it's going to be just a wild kind of idea in terms of seeing the city that never sleeps having to shut the hell up because of these aliens. So yeah, not the most interesting.
Up.
Yes. So that's your alternate title. So not the most interesting title, but I think it's a good way to continue the franchises, is kind of following some new people.
Unfortunately, I would only get hired in the late 40s to name movies, not now.
Probably, yeah.
Because as we all know, all sequels in old Hollywood had interesting titles. They weren't obviously sequel titles to the previous movie.
Yeah.
They just happen, unless it was like, The Invisible Man Returns or something like that, which I can forgive that. I can forgive that. Batman Returns. In fact, the Batman movies did it all right. We like those. Batman Returns, Batman Forever, Batman and Robin. Great sequel. Yes, it's all the same thing. We understand it's all the same thing. Part 2, Part 3, Day 1, Day 74. I'm a Believer. Get away with it all. I can't be doing with it.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, the believer is kind of bugging me, but I'm fine with day one. So moving forward.
I'm into the movie.
What else do we have?
We have the announcement of a new Final Destination movie.
Oh yes. I mean, that was kind of a big fun thing on our channel. When we covered that series on Morgan Hasn't Seen, and you were watching these movies for the first time, and I was very, cocky about, oh, there's a big old twist with these movies, you're never gonna guess, and then you just kind of guessed it jokingly, only to forget you guessed it jokingly. And then when we finished the final film, I had to play back for you what you had said. And so the fact that a movie about people who can see things before they happen, and you predicting something about these movies before it happened, was a very fun highlight in our Morgan Hasn't Seen history. So I think just the announcement alone of a new Final Destination is kind of exciting for us. So we don't have a lot of news about plot or story or anything like that, but just the fact that I think it's been quite a while since the last film. So
Well, it's been a long time.
Yes. So the fact that like we are getting another one, how is it going to come back? What is going to be our big inciting incident? Because that's kind of what those movies are known for. So yeah, I think it raises a bunch of fun questions, and this has been a really fun, unique horror franchise in terms of just doing something different. It's not a typical slasher. It's this whole kind of entity idea, playing with a little bit of supernatural, but also grounding it in a lot of scary reality and fate and things
Yeah.
that you feel like could happen, and having this weird bigger picture of like, did this happen for a reason, and freak accident type horror. So all of these really fun elements that you weren't really seeing in horror at the time, and like just veering off, when we were getting all our kind of cheesy teen comedies or cheesy teen horror films. We're getting something very unique with the Final Destination. So when it came in and kind of became what it became, I think I just love it for that. So the idea of just a new one, I think, is really exciting.
Yeah. What I will say is genuinely go and listen to all major podcast platforms. It's a Wonderful podcast feed.
Yes.
Go back and listen to our Morgan Hasn't Seen series.
So listen
on
to
Final Destination. It was
so right before Final Destination.
Long time ago. It was a
Yes.
long time ago we did this series.
We did it.
We also brought it up
on the last episode of our Drew Barrymore series. So we did a series of Drew Barrymore films, and when we did the last movie in the Drew Barrymore series, we announced the next series being Final Destination. So on that last episode, we're covering the Final Destination movies. There's a big twist. You're never going to guess what it is, Morgan. And then he just outright says what it is, and I just have to be like, you'll have to wait and see. You'll have to wait and see. And so I clipped that out once we finished Final Destination and played it for him, and he like didn't even remember that he had guessed that. So it's a really fun, eerie moment from that series.
As I was trying to say, I have a precedent for forgetting things, so forgive me for looping to Nyong'o. Also forgive me for not remembering that I'd actually guessed the entire ending of Final Destination 5. But yes, genuinely, do go back and listen to that series of Morgan Hasn't Seen. It was a fun series. It's one of my favourite series we've actually done. Earlier on earlier this year? We had it must have been earlier this year, it must have been January this year, we had our milestone special series on Morgan Hasn't Seen, because we were hitting 200 episodes.
Yes.
And we spent a significant time of a certain episode in that series talking about our Final
favorite moments.
Series. I think we replayed the clip. I believe we replayed the clip of me being my own psychic self, apparently.
Yes.
So if you don't want to look too far back,
check out our 200th episode. Yeah.
Well, I don't know if it was on the 200th episode, but it was in our milestone series that we did in January. If you don't want to look too far back into our actual full Final Destination series, but those Final Destination movies, the Final Destination movies, were always movies I never gave much thought to. And that was because I wrote them off, as I often do with many things, because I'm an idiot. As just... I wrote them off in the same way I write off Paranormal Activity. And I still continue to write that off. You know what I mean?
Yes, I'm the same with Paranormal Activity. Like, I have not watched those movies. I
don't need that. What is this nonsense? I think it's probably because a lot of people were talking about it when I was first getting into this sort of thing. And it was just like, obviously me being me has to go and find my own things. That's what I do. Morgan Hasn't Seen, obviously, significantly helped in doing that. But I'd obviously not paid attention to Final Destination for a long many years. Morgan hasn't seen comes along, we do this series on Final Destination. I found such an appreciation for what those movies did, how they blended all the subgenres into this one franchise. The fact that 4 out of those 5 movies are really genuinely pretty good.
Yes.
The only bad ones, 4,
Is
and I mean
4.
4 is terrible.
The acting is bad. The
awful.
story is just all over the place. The effects look weird because they're trying to do this 3D thing.
It's
Yeah,
so
it's a
bad.
mess. It's a mess. The kills are not that great. Like, yeah, it's a total
But like
mess.
1 and 2 are really good.
I mean,
3's
everyone
pretty good.
the fact that
5's really quite interestingly great.
yes, and it makes it a really fun rewatch as well. 5
does.
5 has some great rewatchability factor with it. 2 is just the fact that 2 is the second one and it has the most iconic
Yeah.
thing with the lumber truck. Like
Yeah.
everyone fears the lumber truck because of the second movie in the franchise. Like they forget that that was from the second movie, not the first. So
I know as much crazy kills as there are in the Final Destination movies. I realize I've not even said my thoughts. I am actually interested to see this 6th Final Destination movie. However, I do feel it was rounded out so perfectly with the ending of 5. Like, so perfectly. Like, you're just going to add a little branch off now, aren't you? With
'cause
6.
how
It
are
was
you
a
gonna...
nice big circle that fit back together, and now you're just going to branch out into another little twig? What's that about?
So how is that going to start back up again, considering how interconnected everything ended up being?
And is Tony Todd involved?
Oh, perhaps. I mean,
Because he better had be.
Yes,
Better
Mr.
had be.
Bloodworth.
Tony Todd had better be involved, otherwise I'd be less interested. But more has to come out about this for me to kind of get really
hyped up about
invested, really hyped up. But I do genuinely really do like those movies.
Yeah.
I forget what else I was going to say now. I really do forget. No, that's what I was going to say. My favorite kill from the Final Destination movies. A franchise with all these elaborate, ridiculous, insane, gruesome, gory kills. My favorite kill's the simplest one because it's getting hit by a bus.
Oh my gosh, that Terry
it's my
kill.
favorite one.
Yes, so good.
It's so out of nothing. It's so perfect. It's a perfect jump scare without being like scary.
Yeah, like it's so unexpected.
It's set up brilliantly, so calmly, so perfectly, and then wham, there's a boss.
Yeah.
Immediate death. Bye.
Yeah, it's great.
Anyway, enough about Final Destination. We do also have a few pictures and more of a outline as to Martin Scorsese's new movie coming out later this year, Killers of the Flower Moon, which are we excited for? I think we should be. Scorsese, we kind of should always be.
And kind of like a murder mystery type thing.
Well, it seems, I don't know if it's real or not, but it's set in the 20s in Oklahoma, and it's people trying to kind of get rid of a Native American political group.
Yeah.
Who are kind of obviously owners of this land, and these guys want this land. The FBI gets involved. DiCaprio's in there. De Niro's in there.
Oh, yeah.
You're bringing Scorsese's 2 muses
back together. Yeah.
Back together. Have they been? They've not been in one together, have they? Have they been in one together? Ooh, that's an annoying question.
Yes, they have. I can't remember what it was though, because I was playing this like movie 6 Degrees game on TikTok where like actors will pop up on your heads, like 3 actors, and you have to connect them somehow. And I was trying to connect Leo to Robert De Niro, and I'm like, why do I feel like they've been in something together? Why do I feel like they've been in something together? And I couldn't put it together. And then somebody in my comments told me. I think maybe it's This Boy's Life. Maybe is that the movie?
A Scorsese movie.
But not.
I
well,
was
not.
oh, sorry, I was
Yeah.
thinking about a Scorsese movie.
No, them just coming together, back together, because I know
Oh,
they've worked
right.
together
No,
before.
sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was thinking about a Scorsese movie. So it is the first Scorsese movie with his two
kind of
two
big
guys in it,
his regulars. Yeah.
which is very. I mean, it's intriguing, if not absolutely exciting for a certain
Yeah,
bunch of people.
and I like the
It's
story.
very, very intriguing. It's a
Yeah.
very interesting looking story. There's going to be a lot of political stuff in here. A lot of kind of. It might feel a little bit like a almost an early 20th century, almost Western.
Yeah.
Because it's about land ownership and stuff like that.
And I mean,
people
even
trying
if
to
it's
force
not,
people off land.
yeah, and even if it's not based on a true
Murders.
story, I'm sure it's going to tap into real historical things that were happening at that time.
Absolutely.
In terms of
Absolutely.
native peoples and stuff like that. So,
but yeah, it seems like this almost is a murder situation. It's a murder mystery as well. So it's also 3.5 hours long, at least. Like 3 hours 40 or something like that.
Good Lord.
Now, good Lord is the right response for that sort of thing. But this is Marty Scorsese. We have to put all our faith. He's earned over the decades our entire faith with everything. Yeah. Really. The Irishman, we all thought The Irishman was too long. He was still good. He was still really quite interesting.
I never watched it.
I think that will also be a movie that as I and people perhaps grow older, it becomes kind of more, we mature into that movie almost. I think there's a lot of movies probably that will happen. You know, you kind of gain life experiences, gain life, you know, grow up in life, and you kind of understand certain movies more than you did when you were younger. I think The Irishman's probably something like that, and it being about like your legacy and things like that, and what you're leaving and your entire past, how you've done, reflecting on your life, that kind of thing. This certainly looks like a more exciting kind of movie than I think something like The Irishman was. I think The Irishman was it was biographical almost, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was, but this is, with its murder mystery element to it, I think there'll be a lot of the fun Marty Scorsese. He's able to still, you know, sweep into a movie. Everything's not stodgy. Nothing's ever stodgy, is it? I mean, the man has such a varied career of doing so many bizarre kind of things sometimes, and bizarre kind of movies that you don't ever expect to come from him. Music videos as well that you just
I mean, I think I went to see his movie, that Silence movie. Yes, that was a very long
but
so very much different to
movie. I mean, a movie about deep religion.
Yes. So he does have a very kind of vast vibe in terms of the types of stories he likes to tell. And so I think this one, with this kind of murder solving element, along with bringing in probably some real historical things of, like, you know, the plains at that time.
Yeah, and it being half a Western.
Yes, and kind of situations with, you know, native people and all of that. It's going to be interesting. So I think it's going to be a good combination of what he does best. So
yeah, definitely. We did want to mention, before we get into our main discussion today, that there's been reactions to 2 pretty big superhero movies this week that have had their like preview screenings and things like that.
Yes,
coming out next week. Which we'll obviously have a main review for next week, that being Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, which seems to be very well liked, Jeannine.
Yes, I mean, we're not cool enough to get invited to things
Certainly
like
not.
this. But people I know have gone to go see this movie, and they talk about how it's very much a kind of great conclusion to this version of the Guardians. Each character has a
Yeah.
wonderful moment. There's this kind of great reveal of Rocket being kind of our secret protagonist really throughout these three films. So when you I'm excited to watch them back and really pay attention
Yeah,
to Rocket.
definitely.
A lot of interesting body horror stuff, I'm led to
Ooh.
believe, in terms of,
James
Rocket's
Gunn's just trying to
creation
flex
and
a
that
bit of
type of
early
thing.
James Gunn stuff, isn't he?
Yes. Just how they've evolved in terms of their relationships. You're going to be excited about a lot of the fighting elements, and you're also going to be very emotional and crying at kind of the conclusion of this film. I'm hearing a lot about Adam Warlock. If you know anything about the character, like in this film, he's great, but if you like the comic book version, you might be disappointed. So that's what I'm
I have
hearing a
no
lot of as well.
concept of the
I have
comic
no
book
concept of
version.
him as well as a comic book character. So he's going to be different from that, but in whatever he's doing in this movie, it
Okay.
works for the movie that he's in.
Well, it's Mr. Eyebrows
So
himself, isn't it? Playing him.
yes,
So
yes.
I'm
So
sure it'll be fine.
very emotional. Yes,
Good.
it's
It needs
jokey,
to
but it's
be.
not as jokey as the other two because we're kind of delving into some more, interesting character things. So yeah, I'm
It needs to be
hearing
dark and
nothing but
grim.
I'm hearing great things about Guardians of the Galaxy. So I'm excited to rewatch the films from a Rocket perspective, as James Gunn has kind of named him the secret protagonist of these movies, especially to
Very
kind of
interested
really.
in that.
Yes. So I'm excited to kind of do a big whole rewatch of everything before going into that movie this week. So yeah.
I am. Yeah. I mean, I'm very interested in that comment. Very, very interested in that comment. I like that, and I like that it seems a sad, emotional tale
Yes.
as well.
Yeah.
Because I think honestly, the only way MCU projects get mass critical reception these days, or positive critical reception, entirely, universally, is if they're actually really bleak affairs.
Yeah.
Like the more sillier ones, the more fun ones, seem to get just hammered these days.
Yeah.
You know? And then you look at something like Wakanda Forever, which was just really heavy and emotional, and everybody
Yes.
loved
So
it. Everybody
yeah,
loved it.
but even still, it's kind of like I talk about how, after Endgame, I really haven't gotten that excitement for a Marvel movie, and it's kind of sad. And even though, yes, I was super excited about Wakanda Forever, the bleakness of it and the symbolicness of it, and what it had to tell, it's not one of those MCU movies that you're excited to rewatch because
Well, not necessarily.
it's
No.
because it's kind of a mourning and a yeah, tribute, and so it's a very emotional in that way. So I've been wanting to really be excited about um a Marvel movie again, the way I was with, Endgame and kind of closing a door. So I feel like this is definitely going to close a door in a really profound way for these characters. And, I'm hearing a lot that this is the end of this version of the Guardian. So
Yeah, they do
seemingly
keep
we
saying
won't
that,
be,
don't they?
yes. So seemingly, the Guardians aren't going anywhere, but it's not going to be this team. It's going to be the end of this team. So seemingly a new set of Guardians coming down the line potentially. So I'm just
Yeah,
excited to see how all that plays out.
or certain characters that we obviously know as Guardians doing their own thing,
Yes.
or going off with other people, or something else, or
Creating a new
whatever it
team
may
or
be.
whatever. Yeah.
Whatever it
So
may be.
yes, I'm excited to hear all the good things about that. And then we got a
Yeah,
lot
I
of
am. I am definitely. Sorry, I did just want to try and round out my own thoughts, I
Oh
suppose,
no,
on
no,
on, on
that's
Guardians 3. Because the Guardians movies have been they've never been my favourite. They've never been my least favourite of the MCU. They've just kind of been like, yeah, the Guardians, they're in their own little thing. I enjoy them, but you know, they're not what I go to the MCU for.
Yeah.
That was always really kind of, it turned very much clearly into Steve Rogers by the end. It was what I was just, I'm here for Steve, and that's what I was there for. Among many others, obviously, but you know what I mean, centrally. So I hope this movie gets me to feel the same emotions that I honestly felt watching something like Wakanda Forever.
Yeah.
Because I feel we need to still have that.
Yes.
At this time in this universe with these characters, we still need that ending, the grief aspect. We still need all that. Because the smartest thing I think almost they could have done. I mean, it's becoming more and more obvious that I think the general public, or a lot of the general public, ended with Endgame and just haven't bothered since, because that's such a good ending.
Yeah, that they feel like anything after is like
since.
Yes, it's like, well,
Which makes total sense.
Yeah.
It makes total sense. It's a perfect ending that just happens to be, you know, it's like a new book. You know, it's a sequel book. You don't have to, but it's there, and that's all the stuff that's come after it.
Yeah.
Which is all, you know, it's for the most part, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
You know, all of the stuff. I forget if I've actually missed anything. I don't think I've missed a thing that the MCU has done since. Most of which has been really quite good. It's just, I think it takes a lot of, you know, it's still 4 years later takes a lot for people to want to get back in after Endgame. I think the smartest thing they could have possibly done is almost start again. Like, that is your story with all those characters, and that ended in Endgame. And now you start again with, like, totally new characters.
Yeah.
You know, and build up something again with not using anybody that you used in the previous saga.
Yeah.
You know, something like that. You know, could have possibly been a better play, but we are where we are. I hope this rounds out their trilogy really well. I believe it will. It seems to, from these reactions, to be doing that. I'm excited. I'm excited for it. Even though, you know, no, I'm not. I'm not even going to say anything negative. I have nothing negative to say. I was about to say something negative.
I'm definitely excited for this, and really excited to kind of delve into a rewatch too. Kind of get those perspectives going into it, and pay attention to things that maybe I didn't really notice before. So, and really just remind myself of the dynamic and how this team kind of grew to really feel like this solid family unit.
As long as Drax doesn't start getting stupid again when he's not supposed to, I'll be fine.
Well, I think he's probably going to die because, you know,
sometimes it seems
Dave Bautista has kind of already spoiled that by talking about how he's done with Drax.
Yes, I believe he has.
So thanks a lot for that.
Well, maybe not. Maybe not. You know, Steve didn't die, technically.
No.
And Chris Evans was always like, yeah, I'm done. Yeah, I'm done.
Well, no, he's like, I love that character, and if I do come back, it would have to be for the right reason. I don't want to just keep playing him just to keep playing him. Like, if he's going to come back, I need him to come back in a way that makes sense. So, you know.
Well.
But, yeah.
Yes, anyway. We'll have a full review of that next week, won't we? Because it comes out at the end of this week. The air date. We also have this fun movie. Oh, God. People saw The Flash. Some people saw The Flash. A select group of people saw The Flash. This movie's only coming out at the end of June.
No, mid-June, June 16th.
Is it mid-June? I thought it was the 30th of June.
Well,
Don't tell
probably
me
for
Britney's
you.
getting it on the 30th of June and you guys get that.
Probably.
That is, no, I refuse to even acknowledge that that's going to happen. I don't even really want to see the movie, and I genuinely don't really want to see the movie. But I do think that's a really stupid thing if it's coming out on different days.
Yes, well, it's getting overwhelmingly positive reviews.
I
People
mean,
are
it
saying
really is. Oh no,
it's like
16th. Sorry, 16th.
okay,
Yes.
yeah. So it's going to be a coming together of all these great elements of DC, like a great crossover story. I'm also hearing I was spoiled and saw a TikTok talking about some potential cameos. So I'm not going to mention those here, but some other potential people popping up in this movie. So yeah, everyone's
why? Oh, right. I'm actually struggling to wrap my head around the entire movie because it's because how what
no,
mix
it's
of
no, it's not.
no what mix of magical spiritual powers have to come into play for this movie, with all its issues that it's had, with all its mess that it's had, 84 screenwriters and 78 different scripts, and 420 cameo people supposedly being in, not being in, recasting, what's going on here, Ezra Miller being terrible to people, Ezra Miller's trying to not be terrible to people, but Ezra Miller's still being terrible to people.
Him being terrible to people didn't take
Not got
away.
any.
Well, no, it didn't take away what he'd already done in the
Certainly
movie.
not.
So
Certainly not. And I'm not saying that. I'm
didn't
just
affect.
saying
It was more the decision of what do we do going forward.
Yeah, but all the news, all the discussion, all of this. How to God has this movie been getting such overwhelmingly, ravingly positive reviews?
Well, I mean, I think they've had plenty of time to go back and zhuzh things up and clean things up, and knowing how much money went into it, they really had time, to formulate and figure things out, and maybe James Gunn kind of giving some input on cutting things or fixing things or adding things. I don't know.
Confuses me. It doesn't like I'm not angry. I know I'm not.
Yes, you
I'm
sound
not
kind of angry.
I'm not. It's just so confusing to me because by all logic, this should be the biggest mess of a movie there's ever been.
It should, but that's not the way it's looking.
But how is it not even like just being preview reviewed as, well, this is surprisingly quite good. Fair enough.
Yeah.
This is being like, this is the greatest superhero movie of all time. And I'm sat there reading these things going, how has this happened? How has this movie become? There's like several people. Oh, this is up there with the best of DC. This is not only up there with the best of DC, this is one of the greatest superhero movies of all time. And I'm there screaming into my hands going, how logically does this make any sense?
Yeah.
Because it doesn't. And I'm so intrigued by the entire there needs to be a documentary
on how this movie was made,
on the background of this movie. This is
a
fascinating mess of messness.
Well, all the things you're talking about, all the screenwriter, like I never heard any of that. So the only thing I heard going into this movie that was having a whole lot of trouble was the Ezra Miller factor and like the restructuring of the DCEU and those things affecting this movie, not the story, not who was in it, not anything like that, not the movie itself, just kind of everything happening around it being the issues. So I don't remember it being plagued by all of these production type
for some
snafus
reason,
and things. I just
well, for some,
remember a lot of things happening around the making of it, the releasing of it, Ezra Miller's behavior that was affecting this movie going forward. So maybe
well,
I'm just not wasn't up on, you know, what
well,
was
maybe
happening.
I'm misremembering them, but am I not remembering correctly that this movie should have come out about 8 years ago? 7 years ago or something. Should it have not have come out in like 2016 or something like that?
I think
Am
it
I
was
not?
yes,
Am I not losing my mind? And that
I
actually
mean, I
was
think it
happening.
was supposed to definitely come out earlier than it did, but I think that was just with the restructuring of the DCEU and
Well,
those last couple of
this may
films,
be
and
what I'm
you
thinking
know,
about.
and the pandemic I think affected it. You know, Wonder Woman going on streaming and then not doing well, and then Discovery coming in, and all of that I think was
This may be
affected.
what I'm thinking about
Yes,
then.
I think it was supposed to come out sooner, but because of COVID in 2020 and all of that, that shelved it, and then there was
But
a
was that not
restructuring. And
even 5 years too late for
I
what it
mean, I don't think
originally was supposed to be? Or am I?
I don't.
I don't know if I don't know if I'm over exaggerating things, but I'm sure I remember these things.
Well,
Forgive
no,
me
I mean, I think it
again
was supposed
if
to come
I'm.
out sooner than it did because, I mean, elements hint to this in Batman v Superman. Um, so essentially, I think it was supposed to come out, I think maybe a few years ago. But because they had all this time, then maybe that's when tinkering started happening, and and then the restructuring and Zaslav coming in and
Zorboff, Janine, come on.
yes, evil
Zorboff.
Zorba,
Zorboff is his
and
name.
just all the things that were happening, and then Suicide Squad being great but not doing well, and all of these things kind of happening. It just maybe had them scared and messing with the movie. So like I don't remember anything inherently negative about the production. I feel like it was just a lot of factors happening around it that was affecting it more than the movie itself being plagued by all these kinds of disasters, I think. At least that's how I'm remembering it.
I no longer trust myself, so but I
You can
do
tell
think
we do
it's.
crack research on this show,
Oh,
folks.
how are we supposed to do research on a movie like this? The fact is, who the hell was expecting it to be getting remarkably positive
Yes, because
reviews
like I
in
mean, even with
previous
all of the
screenings?
with all the
Not
things
me.
and sloppiness happening around this movie,
What I don't like,
that
what I,
alone, I think, is surprising that it's getting such good word of mouth.
what I genuinely don't like, though, and I'll be open about this, is the reviews that are structured as Ezra Miller has done terrible things, but they're great in this movie, as though that's an excuse.
Yeah,
You know, because Kevin Spacey has done terrible things, but he's great
he's
in
great in
this
this
movie. It's
movie.
like, yeah, sure, carry on with that, and you're going down a real slippery slope there,
Yes.
aren't you?
Um, yeah, so it's going to
I
be hard to kind of review him in this movie and keep it to, you know, separation of art and artist type situation, which I
it's
mean, I think
still
we've been
making me not want
able.
to watch the movie.
Yes, and I totally understand that. I understand people who do feel that way. Um, but and I'm seeing a lot of commentary from people who have seen it. You know, this movie is bigger than one person. This movie is bigger than Ezra Miller. Like the concepts, the story, the themes, the crossover of it, the coming together of what they were able to do with this movie, the feat of it alone is bigger than one person. So that's what I'm hearing as well. So I don't know if that's what people need to tell themselves to feel okay about watching it, or if that is
Yeah,
just
I don't
true, and
know.
if that is just the truth that this movie is very much bigger than one person who's done some really crap things.
I hope that is true. I hope that
Yeah.
is true because that will make me feel that will make me want to see the movie more than I currently do, which is not, which is deeply unfortunately not a great deal. Like I'm saying, I'm not going about this going, this is a load of trash bag, you know, I don't ever want to hear about this. I hate you if you go and see this movie. That's not what I'm here to be. That's not what I like being. You know, people make their own choices on what they want to go and see with who they want to go and see in them.
Yeah.
And what individuals. I just think that there still hasn't been, for me, a reasonable, lengthy sit down piece with Ezra Miller displaying remorse.
Yeah.
So I'm sure I said this last time we brought it up. Ezra Miller come out and do that, and I think a lot of people will be like,
yeah,
okay,
because I mean, they put out an apology, like just not like a written apology. They didn't actually like sit down and I don't think talk about it. Or I mean, if they have, I haven't seen that. And yeah, like I am very much an
it would do
advocate of,
wonders.
yes, I'm very much an advocate of accountability culture rather than cancel culture. Like it goes a long way if
Yes.
somebody genuinely can sit down and just take accountability for what they've done and
Yeah.
you know,
That's
discuss
all you
whatever they're
need.
doing to grow from that. I think that goes a long way. But then you do have people
That's
who,
all you
you know,
need, because
maybe
people are people, and people do bad things. But
yes,
people need to accept
and
that
acknowledge that.
and acknowledge that, and but then move on from that.
Yes.
That's what should be happening. I feel like it should have happened by now if it
Yes.
was going to. So I don't think it is going to happen. And it's, you know, as much as, oh God, would I not love to see Keaton and Affleck Batman it off with each other?
That sounds
Yes,
dirty.
of course I would. It does a bit, doesn't it? It does, yes. I don't want to see Keaton and Affleck bat each other off. That was more
Batman each other off.
overtly. That oh dear. I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that, to be honest with you. I'm not interested. Some people probably
It
would
might
be very
be, yeah.
interested in seeing that. I wouldn't be one of them. Of course I would. You know, of course I would like to see that. It's just I don't have any desire to go and watch the movie.
Yes, no, I get those reservations. I mean, I'm excited just because, you know, this is my favorite Batman and, you know, like I just kind of gushed about me loving the concept of nostalgia and the legacy kind of things that are coming out today. So
Yeah.
for that aspect alone, like I'm all in for that. And just kind of what I've seen, it does feel to me bigger than one person.
I mean, I
That
have
there's
watched this other trailer as well, and I mean, it's more of the same decent looking stuff we got in that first trailer.
yeah. So
Um,
I mean, I'm still excited for this movie. I wish that they would really just be clear about their part and what they've done and take accountability for that and more than, you know, beyond a statement.
yeah,
Just say, you know, um, because I think that goes a long way for sure. So,
it really
um,
does. It really
yeah.
does. But
So,
staggeringly confusing early reactions
yeah.
for the Flash. But like, am I glad it's getting positive reactions? Sure, because you know
You want movies to
a
do
lot of
well.
people did a lot of people did good work on that movie. Clearly,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, so credit to them. And you know, I hope every movie. I hope every movie is good. I don't wish ill on any movie. You know, I don't wish ill on any people, but
Yeah.
it's just confusing to me
No, I get that.
how this is seemingly what it is. But yes, I
Yeah.
think there we go. Who's to know? Who's to say
Yeah.
what we will have to talk about the Flash in the near future? We did want to have a little bit of a discussion today in our Let's Talk, though, Jeannine. Let's move swiftly in because we've
Yes.
spent a lot of time having discussions on what's up today
Yes,
about
well, so many
various
things, and
things.
that's not even everything that came out, but yeah, just some
No,
things that really piqued our interest and attention. So, yeah, so with
I feel
Let's Talk
hyped
today,
up now. I feel like I need to calm down.
we can calm down with some Let's Talk discussion. So,
Oh, can we though?
um, the movie Air has recently come out, and I really enjoyed it. I don't think you've been able to see it yet, but
I haven't seen it yet.
yes,
No.
obviously a really great story about Nike, and they're teaming with Michael Jordan for the Air Jordans and all of that.
Do you
Um,
wear Air Jordans, Janine?
I do not. I'm too poor
Neither
for
do
Air
I.
Jordans. But I just kind of seeing Nike being like number 3 in terms of the athletic shoe and their whole mission to get Jordan and them kind of being the underdogs. Uh and knowing what Nike is today, knowing what Air Jordans are today, and still that movie being able to make me be invested and really feel nervous and excited about what was going to happen, even though I do actually know how the story ends, got me thinking about something. And then, this past weekend, I got to go see Return of the Jedi in theaters for the 40th anniversary. So I did a big whole rewatch of all the previous films leading up to it, just to kind of, refresh. And I watched Rogue One. And Rogue One, like, again, a situation where you pretty much know how the story ends. Even with the
Yeah.
prequels, you know how that story ends, but you're still excited. You're still nervous about this mission and how are they going to accomplish it and are they going to make it happen even though they make it happen, you know? Um so it just got me thinking of the concept of films that you are fully aware of how they end, but a testament to the filmmaking of those movies is still getting you excited
Yeah.
for that ending, exciting to see how the story ends, even though you kind of already know how it ends. So I think that was just kind of a fun thing that was looming in my brain because of that I thought we could talk about today. Just movies that really get you excited and anticipate, where it's going to go, even though
You
whether it
already
be
know.
whether it be a true story, whether it be a movie that has a sequel book, you know,
Yeah.
um, or it's a prequel story that how it ends, but you're still really excited to
Or if it's a movie that you know so well, but you still, every time you go back to it, feel the
yeah,
exact same thing you did in the first time when
yeah,
you didn't know.
yeah,
Because the movie's just able to grip you. The movie's able to grab you in
yes,
that particular
hmm,
way that a lot of really great movies do. I think a lot of sports movies do this very well.
oh yeah,
Um, Prequels, though, are interesting in any sense because so many prequels fail when they don't do it.
yeah,
But the really great prequels, and I think the Star Wars prequels fall into this category. They certainly, as they get further on, and certainly Revenge of the Sith, really take themselves so singularly seriously because it's almost not. It makes you forget what comes after, even though you obviously already know.
yes, like
It
you
sits you
know,
in that particular individual movie, and I think the best prequels of anything always do that. They sit you in that individual
mhm.
particular
So you
movie.
kind of your mind lets you forget what's
Yeah,
coming, what
and
that you know.
you
Yeah,
only retroactively realize when you finish the movie that it's like, oh yeah, that's of course.
exactly. Like you have this big battle on Mustafar with Anakin and Obi-Wan, and neither of them are going to die because where they're going after
Yeah.
this. But you're still very invested in this fight. You're still, see him get his limbs cut off and he's burning in the lava and like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? But
All
but,
all the
you know,
great elements of movie making come together to help that as well. Music's a massive part, I think, of this for me. Music in movies. Um, yes, okay, your set pieces, the way scenes play out,
mhm.
individual performances can bring out that kind of, grab you by the collar and pull you into this movie we're here, we're not going to let you go kind of mentality that
Yes, yeah.
movies sometimes have. But really, I think, and a lot of the ones I've got here, it's music, I think, or at least two of them. It's music for me that
Okay.
makes, I think, the ending of these movies that I wanted to bring up in this little discussion always heavily affect me.
Yeah.
And this is more in a kind of, not relief, but it's this kind of it's almost pride. It's almost the emotional pride that I have in a couple of these movies, because I wanted to bring up just what the endings of particularly Rocky 2, but also Escape to Victory, what they do to me.
Okay.
Rocky 2, I think, is more understood. Escape to Victory is a football war movie that is good. It's great. It's got a lot of great people in. John Huston directed it. It's from the early
Okay.
80s. Michael Caine. Stallone's in it as well. They're both Stallone movies. I don't know if it's a Stallone thing.
Yeah.
It might be a Stallone thing. But the ending of Rocky 2, how many times have I watched Rocky 2? How many times? I know exactly what's going to happen at the end
Yeah.
of Rocky 2. Everybody who hasn't seen Rocky 2 knows what happens at the end of Rocky 2, because that's what happens at the end of most sports movies. That's the great thing about Rocky 1. He doesn't actually win.
When yeah. Mhm.
But at Rocky 2, he does win. Oh, and it's the music. It's every
Oh,
damn
yeah.
time
The
it's the
bells.
music.
Yes.
But everything about the ending of Rocky 2, it affects me every single time. I get so into it. I know exactly what's happening. But the fight, the Rocky and Apollo fight in Rocky 2, has this unknowing ability
Yeah.
to just make me zone out of everything else, sit me ringside, and sob at the end of it,
Yeah.
because everybody else is sobbing at the end of it. And you get the big Adrian, you get the freeze frame, you get Stallone looking like the most beat up corpse of a person possible.
Yeah.
And you're just like, we did it, Adrian. And it's so beautiful. And you get this overwhelming pride for a character that you have no real life connection for,
Yeah.
but you've just spent the last hour and 45 with. So you love them because the movie does that to you. And I think the great movies are always able to, I think, invest you so deeply that when something with seriously high emotion happens,
Yeah.
whether it's a death, a found love, a proud moment like
Yeah.
this, winning something, you feel exactly what they're feeling. If the movie's a character piece, of course. If the movie's not a character piece, then it does its own thing. But if the movie is a character piece and wants you to identify with them, then the best ones will do that. And
Yeah.
Rocky 2 is one of the best ones for me at just doing that. Escape to Victory as well, in a very similar fashion. I think probably because it's football, I have some sort of inherent desire to just it's more relief than pride, because they don't even win the game actually in Escape to Victory. It's a
Oh,
4-4
no.
draw. They just show their own against the
Yeah.
Nazis. That's the point of it. I'm not even that into war movies. It's mostly all to do with the football. It's also the fact that real life footballers are in there. It's also the fact that I actually recently watched it for the last time just after Pele had died earlier this
Oh.
year. So it was on TV. It was on
Yes.
TV that weekend because,
So
of
it just
course, it
added to
was,
the emotional aspect
because
of the whole kind of yeah.
Pele's in the movie. I'm getting teary eyed now, Janine. I
Oh my
can't,
gosh.
because he goes off with a broken eye. He gets his arm broken in the first half. Is it in the first half? No, it's in the second half. Gets his arm broken in the second half of this game they play. because it's all the allied people. It's all the people from all sorts of areas. They even bring some people from camps in, like the Eastern
Ooh.
Europeans. They even bring like really horrendous looking people because they've suffered through labor camps and things like this. It actually takes a dark turn for about 5 minutes there when they start talking about that, because it's quite it's a bombastic kind of movie. It's the structure of a sports movie.
Yeah.
A ragtag group of randomers coming against the might of the German national team, essentially, because they want to put on an exhibition to show, oh, look how strong we are, and all the nice little people from all the other countries come together as one and show them that we're just as strong as you, evil people. And it's all very nice. Pele gets his arm broken in the game, and he has to go off injured, and he's just like, no, I'm okay, I want to play. You can't play with a broken arm. Michael Caine's telling me, you can't play like that. You broke your arm, you can't play. No, I want to play. Pele's got this really emotional voice anyway. He always had just a real kind of hearty timbre to his voice that's almost musical. But he's just like, no, I need to play. I need to play. I want to play. Because he's Brazilian.
Yeah.
That's a terrible impression of Pele. He goes on. He scores the most beautiful. I'm sorry, it's silly. It is silly.
No, like that's what we're going for today.
It's the music that gets you as well. The music that's played in this game. Please, I need to know who did the score off the top of my head for Escape to Victory. Because, like I said, John Huston directed it. John Huston's obviously a great director.
Yeah.
But I've never felt this way with any other John Huston movies that I've seen. It's just like, oh yeah, so really, The Maltese Falcon's a really great movie. But 40 years later, he makes Escape to Victory, and this is the one that
like the best one. The football movie.
I wouldn't say it's John Huston's best movie,
but I mean, it might be one of your favorites. So your favorites and what is the best can be two completely different things. So.
Of course it is. I'm an idiot. It's Bill Conti again.
Oh.
So it's Rocky 2 again.
Yes.
Because it's the same.
The tie is the
guy.
connection.
It's Bill Conti. I might just be
that's why the music.
Bill Conti here.
That's why the music is getting you.
Music during this game, and Pele scores just the most beautiful overhead kick. Oh, it's in slow motion. Ossie Ardiles rainbow flicks it above. Oh, it's beautiful. I think it's crossed in by Bobby Moore. Well, it's full of real players. I think this adds to it as well, because it's full of genuinely real players. I'm sorry, I'm waffling about it.
No. I like the excitement.
I think it's Bob Moore that crosses it in.
Yeah.
And you just get this kind of fluttering music of doo-doo-doo, and it's all in slow motion, and you see, I'm going to do an impression of an overhead kick now for everybody that's interested when I've got my pajama comfy pants on. You get the fluttering music, and it's done like 5 times. It's one of those stereotypical kind of sports movies where the last impressive thing is like replayed 5 times.
Yeah. In
slow-mo and all these things. But you just see his eyes look up, and he watches the ball come across. It's all in very slow-mo, all music, fluttery, nice music, and you're just going, oh yes, I mean, come on, Pele, what's he planning here? And he just connects with the loveliest bicycle kick you've ever seen in your entire life. It's the perfect overhead kick, and you just, everybody slumps in the chair and just goes, everybody cheers, obviously, it's all made, but it gets you teary-eyed.
Every time, yes, and I love
and that's not even the end of the game, because at the end of the game, Stallone, who's the goalkeeper, has to save a penalty, and it's the exact same situation. And he saves the penalty, and you get all teary-eyed, and the music starts up again, and then the music, and then all the people in France carry them off the pitch, and it's all very nice, and it's not, I'm not even interested in the fact that it's shut up Nazi Germany. I'm interested in the fact that look at all these people being proud of this football team.
Yeah. No, that's great.
Football's the beautiful game, and Escape to Victory is a perfect depiction of it.
Yes, I mean, sports movies definitely can do that, especially if you've seen them a billion times. But it's a testament to the filmmaking and like the emotional attachment that you put on it that gets you excited, even though you know they're going to win the big game or you know that they're going to get some kind of accolades or whatever it is. Like for me, obviously, my favorite movie of all time. The Cutting
Yes.
Edge.
Yes.
Like, you know, it's these two people who seemingly hate each other and grow to love each other, but they're too stubborn to admit they love each other. And that all culminates in them also trying to get something back. You know, he's this injured hockey player who can't play the game he loves anymore, even though he was kind of on the rise. She's this, you know, diva of a ice skater, figure skater who lost her chance at the gold because of her attitude and her not being able to take accountability for anything that she's done. And so this is a huge moment, this big move we've seen them like, you know, give their bodies over to and beat themselves up to to get it done. And we haven't even seen them like execute it properly. On top of that, it's them finally admitting these feelings for each other. So it's like this whole big build of things. And we don't even see if they won the gold. You're just led to believe that if they can
Yeah.
pull this move off, they're
Yeah.
going to win the gold. They're going to be redeemed. And you want that for them. And you're excited and you're like nervous. Is it going to happen? And he declares his love for her first and she's just stunned, and is she going to like reciprocate? Like, I still have all these feelings seeing this movie hundreds of times and knowing how it ends and knowing they pull off the big move and the music and the build. Like you said, you get so freaking excited. I'm not going to, you know, do like you and replicate the Pemchenko move that happens at the end of the movie. But yes. And so I think you can feel it for movies you've seen a billion times, but also like prequel movies, like we also talked about something like Pearl. We know whatever Pearl does in this movie,
Yeah.
she gets away with it because she lives a nice long old life to be in X. So we know whatever we go into that movie knowing whatever she's going to do in this movie, nothing's going to happen to her. She's going to get away with whatever terrible deeds she decides to commit in this movie. Even something like with the Hunger Games, like I read those books before I saw the movie. So I knew, you know, by the end when you have Katniss and Peeta and they're in this situation and obviously they don't want to like kill each other, but they, you
Yes.
know, and the buildup of that, like how are they going to get out of this situation? I know how they get out of that situation, but you're still nervous for this game and who's going to survive and how we get to the end and what are they going to do. So I think, you know, when a movie can really craft an interesting story, when there is an element of knowing built into it, I think that is just another feat that a movie has to kind of get over. And
Yeah.
a lot of movies are able to really kind of go into that well. Something like Titanic, like I think everybody knows
Yeah.
what happened, but when you circle it around a specific story of people, which also that can kind of be a complaint because there were actually real people that, you know, did that they could have done stories about, but they just made up some random people, you know, to follow some
But
attract
I
pretty people. But I think
think
that
in
is
an
what,
example like Titanic, that's what gets people to go back and watch that movie. That's what gets
yes,
people into that movie. And that movie does work in that sense. I mean, it's essentially, I mean, it's not, but in terms of any biopic or any historical event movie where you know the outcome of it, or you know the person's life, or you know whatever happened, like Air, you know, we know what happened with that story because we know where we are now with it. And this can be the same with any biopic. We know
yeah.
where the person is now. We know
But
that person's life,
but
but
for
it's
you to
how,
invest me in this
yeah,
story that I already know the history of it, it is the feat that you're gonna have to kind of climb over. And if a movie can do that, I think it just is an extra notch in that filmmaker, that production, or that
really is.
story's cap. Because yeah, that's kind of
Really is.
it seems like on the surface a very difficult thing to do, to get people to care about something they kind of already know the ending to.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just thought it was a really interesting concept in terms of things I had recently watched, and like Air really had me like rooting for this underdog company, and are they going to do it? And they have this big meeting with Jordan, and what are they going to say to get him to, oh my gosh, how is this going to go? I know how it goes, but I'm still questioning how is this going to go? And I love that. I love that that movie was
Yeah.
able to make me feel that. And then it just kind of speaks to movies and what they're able to make you feel, and
Yeah.
transcend, you know, our conceptions and our previous knowledge, and you know, things like Apollo 13, like so many movies about real things that, you know, still make us feel something. So I just thought that was kind of a fun thing that was just popping up in my brain
Right.
as of recent times. So
Absolutely. I mean, I did want to mention one more movie actually, but this from a more of a tense standpoint as opposed to a, you know, overwhelming joy almost of
yeah.
my other two movies I've mentioned. Because this movie, I watched this movie for the first time a long time ago. Not that long ago. Good few years ago.
Okay.
It was then a very early episode of It's a Wonderful Podcast, the
Ooh.
main show. I then didn't watch it for years. I watched it like 6 months ago. I then bought the movie. I then watched it again.
Oh.
And now just can't seem to shut up thinking about it every time I come to want to watch a movie. I've realised this in the last like week. Very recent, I don't know why, it's very recently, but I have actually realised this in the last week. Because I will come into this room where I'm sat now. If you're watching, hello, here's this room. I'll look at my movie shelf, which is sometimes here and sometimes over there. If you can see my hands. I say sometimes it's always there and it's always over there.
Yeah.
That's where I keep them. But I find myself, okay, what do I want to watch? And I find myself whistling the same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
And I don't know why. And I think for some ridiculous reason, this particular movie has clawed itself into my mind and heart for a reason that I've spoke about earlier on in this show today, which is an, you know, an idea that I like of the reluctant kind of old hero
Yeah.
doing one last thing, you know, when he seems kind of he has to, not because he wants to,
Yeah.
because he has to. This is High Noon.
Ah, okay.
Because I can't seem to shut up thinking about High Noon. And I want to watch it every time I come to watch a movie. Because I find myself going and just whistling the ballad of High Noon
Yeah.
every time I come and want to watch a movie. It's just, no, I can't watch High Noon. We've got to watch something else. I can't watch High Noon. But High Noon has the ability, I think, to do what Rocky 2 and Escape to Victory do for me, but in a tense sense.
Okay.
Not in a kind of proud, emotional sense,
Yeah.
but in a
Builds tension. Oh my gosh, this is intense. Where's it gonna go? Yeah.
This is
Just panic.
seriously just
Yeah.
like it is. It's panic. It's growing, gradual panic that you get in High Noon, and it's entirely down to the way that movie is structured, that tightness of that movie. Fred Zinnemann's directing of that movie is so absolutely inch perfect. Not a second is wasted. It's not a second too short. Every little time you think you might be forgetting an element of it, you're reminded of the time, for example, or you're reminded of the train tracks, or the open, the open town. Gary Cooper's walking around, And it seems like such an old man movie, doesn't it? It does.
Yeah.
It's perfect. It is a perfect movie. For the genre, it is a Western, obviously, but it is a perfect movie as far as I'm concerned. I've never come across a movie either, I don't think, that has such a consistently great build of tension.
Yeah.
There's great builds of tension in many, many movies, of course there is, but is the entire movie often about just a build of tension?
Yes.
No. This is from minute one. This is like, oh, who are these guys?
Where are they gonna go? What are they gonna do?
What are they
Yeah.
doing? Oh,
Yeah.
what's going on here? And then you keep getting reminded of the time. The movie almost happens in real time. You keep getting reminded of the time. You keep getting reminded of the train tracks. Frank Miller's coming on the noon
Yeah.
train. Oh God, what's Frank Miller gonna do
Yeah.
to Gary Cooper? Why is he so? And you learn more, and you get so
Built
into
up
it.
and built up and built up. Yeah.
Learning more about the character relationships with each other. Gary Cooper and Katie Gerardo, the saloon owner, their relationship, the fact that really it should have been those guys that
Yeah.
got together and not necessarily Gary Cooper and Grace Kelly, because Grace Kelly doesn't really know anything about him. Katie Gerardo's the one that knows all
Knows
about him.
Yeah.
That knows him better than anybody else, really. It should be those two, but she has to leave because, oh no, Frank Miller's coming.
Yeah.
The fact that in the end, Grace Kelly really does help so much. She shoots somebody in the final battle when there's nobody else there helping him.
Yeah.
It's also this fact of there's nobody else there helping him. He's on his own. Maybe
Yeah.
this speaks to me and constantly feeling like I'm on my own doing everything, even though I'm not. But in that movie, Gary Cooper actually is on his own doing everything because he's going around everybody. Lon Chaney Jr. Oh, I can't do it. I know I used to be a deputy, but my hands are hurting. Never mind your hands, Lon Chaney Jr. Get up and help
the hell
him.
Up. Yeah.
No, nobody helps him. They're all too scared. He has to do it on his own. And it's so... It is the constant switching between Gary Cooper walking around, showing clocks and showing train tracks.
Yeah.
It's so simple. It seems so simple editing, but it's paced perfectly. And the build of the tension is like nothing else you've ever seen. It's unbelievable. The final gunfight itself is really scary. You've no idea if Gary, having watched the movie, what happens at the end of the movie, and that is a real powerful moment. I mean, when Gary Cooper slams his sheriff badge in the dirt and just rides off with Grace Kelly, basically just middle fingering the entire town.
Done.
You weren't there for me. I'm done with you guys. Bye. I was going anyway, but now you've left. Now I'm leaving and never ever coming back. Bye. You weren't there for me. It's this kind of, and you just think, oh, that's heavy. Immediately after you've gone through this ordeal with a long time, rival of yours, the one guy who you are truly terrified of as this. Well, he's a marshal, isn't he? He should be the guy who's in charge of everybody afraid of, but he's afraid of Frank. Everybody's afraid of Frank. Frank is pretty intense, to be fair. When he does arrive in the movie, he's pretty intimidating. But it is a perfect movie, and it's a wonderful movie. And I've just been thinking so much about it. The music in it as well does help. I think the constant that kind of constant when Gary Cooper's walking around is just really okay. This is, you feel that kind
pace.
of
You feel the
bang,
the beat of it.
Go.
Yeah.
You feel it so much. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I had to drink.
No. That's what I was hoping to get out of this topic, because it's just kind of been looming on my mind for sure. Just really speaking to what movies can do for us, and
Now I
especially
want to watch High Noon.
especially the idea of just movies that we know so well, or have ancillary material to tell us how it's going to go, and we still get so invested in them. And I just thought that was a fun idea that people don't really think about. So
Yeah. Go and watch High Noon. It's 90 minutes, the most perfect
Yes, I need to
filmmaking
watch it
you'll ever
again.
see.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's a Western and you don't like Westerns. I don't care. Go and watch it.
Yes, I need to watch it again. I've only seen it once very long ago. So
Yes. Well, is it fun and games time?
I believe it is.
Show?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
So you kind of formulated a fun game that I like that we've been playing.
Yes.
Where, tell me how many things you can name in 20 seconds.
I just think this is a great format of game.
Yeah, it's great.
This is why we're doing it so much.
So I have two that are kind of related to some things we learned from CinemaCon. And then the third one is just a fun challenge that I saw some people do on another podcast. So I kind of just want to see if you can do it.
Okay. Probably not. You know how bad I am with games. The only thing I'm thinking of now is, don't you?
What's that?
The goddamn songs from High
Noon.
The music of High Noon. The ballad of High
Cloud
Noon.
your brain.
And the Dmitry Tiomkin beautiful beaty score. It's all I can think of. Sorry, yes.
Well, good. I've clouded your mind. So,
fun and games.
Some news we got out of CinemaCon was the kind of some plot elements for the new Timothée Chalamet Triangle Man Willy Wonka movie, where basically he's going to be it's him kind of working his way up the ranks and
up the ranks of what?
Well, no, he's working his way into the chocolate business, and like basically at the time chocolate is run by these cartels and things apparently.
Oh my god.
And so he has to throw a wrench into that, and we see him going and going into jungles to find cocoa and cacao beans and things. And then Hugh Grant is supposedly playing like an Oompa Loompa and gives him all the knowledge about the Oompa Loompas.
What?
Yes.
What?
Yes. Hugh Grant.
What? Wait, this sounds like it's going to be as racist as the actual book Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
I don't know. So there's going to be
the jungle and finding I'm not so sure about this.
No, I didn't say he goes into the jungle and finds Oompa Loompas. I said he goes.
Well, that's what happens in the book.
Exactly. So I don't know, but he is like searching jungles for like different kinds of chocolates and cacao and all kinds of things. And at a certain point, he will run into a Hugh Grant Oompa Loompa who tells him about Oompa Loompas. And yes, and the climate of chocolate is very much like this cartel type situation. So he has to come in and throw a wrench into that. And he invents a chocolate that can make people fly. So
what is this movie? What is this movie?
So they're saying it's not going to be super dark. It's going to be a very light toned movie. So that's the news we got. So my challenge for you here is about our original Willy Wonka, Gene Wilder. Yes. How many Gene Wilder films can you name in 20 seconds?
I don't reckon that many, actually. I really don't think that 6.
6. Okay. Let me just pull up the filmography just so I can reference. And
6.
Yeah, 6. Actor.
6.
Movies.
Gene Wilder.
Okay.
I never thought my life would be.
All right. Your time.
The rogue cartel of chocolate. But apparently that's what the Wonka movie is. What an
Well,
amazing thing.
are you going to use your time singing the song? Because I'm going to push the
No,
button.
sorry.
All right.
I'm sorry.
And your time starts now.
Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, The Producers, Young Frankenstein, Blazing Saddles, See No Evil, Hear No Evil, and Stir Crazy.
Okay, good job. With 5 seconds to
Yes.
spare.
Boom, boom, boom. All you need to do is go Mel Brooks Pryor, and you're sorted.
You're good. Okay, so some more news we got out of CinemaCon is some news about the Ghostbusters Afterlife sequel that we are in fact going to get to
Ooh.
see Paul Rudd and Carrie Coons suit up as Ghostbusters.
Ooh.
There was an image of Paul Rudd walking. He's like obviously wearing some kind of cloak to cover, but you can see clearly that the collar of his shirt is a Ghostbusters jumpsuit. So
Oh, I was going to say you could clearly see the pack on his back that was just protruding out. Of the
yeah,
back of it.
no, I don't think they would have been that clunky with it. But he's wearing like a cover, but you can see like
Okay.
he's wearing a brown collar popping out. So obviously,
Okay.
yes. So our two adult leads from the Afterlife film will be suiting up in this movie. So how many movies can you name with ghost in the title?
Ooh. Oh, that's a fun one. I like that. Oh God. Oh.
Stop thinking of movies.
Yeah.
Just
Stop.
give me a number.
You know what? 5. I'll go for 5.
Okay, so 5
I'm
movies with
probably going to
ghosts
be
in the
guessing
title
titles here
for
as well.
20 seconds. Okay.
Yeah.
And go.
The Ghost and Mrs. Muir, Ghost,
Mhm,
Ghostbusters,
mhm.
The Ghost Whisperer. I'm almost certain is something that might be
just
a
a
bad
show.
TV show.
Yes, that's a show.
Um,
You have 3
and
seconds.
the Return of the Hand of
Uh,
the Ghost. No, that's not right. That was terrible. The Ghost Breakers I could have had. That's a movie.
yeah, so that's a show. Isn't that weird show?
No, that's a movie. That's a Bob Hope movie.
Ghost Rider.
Ghost Rider.
Hmm.
Ghosts of Mars.
What?
That's not one, is it? Ghosts of Mars? What's Ghosts of Mars? Have I just
Ghost
made
Dad.
something? Ghost Dad. Oh, God.
Yes, with
But
terrible
there's not
Bill
that
Cosby.
Oh, for God's sake. No, we don't want that. Go away.
Yes, no, we don't.
Yeah, well, I didn't get that one.
No, you did not. But good effort, good confidence there
Thank
with
you.
5 movies. Okay, so now this one is not related to anything. I just saw some other people do this challenge and I thought it was fun.
Okay.
So they said, can you name a movie
Any movie.
starring yes, a movie, any movie. Can you name a movie starring each Friends actor?
Any movie starring each Friends actor.
So name 5 movies starring
Ooh.
or 6 movies, sorry.
Okay. Do I get a time limit? Or is this just like a thing that I have to try and do?
I mean, do you think you can do it in a time limit?
I don't think I can do it in a time limit. Let's go.
Okay.
A movie. Ugh.
Yeah,
Scream.
6.
Easy.
Okay.
Out the way with.
Okay, Courtney Cox.
Easy A. Out the
Lisa
way with Lisa
Kudrow.
Kudrow. Along Came Polly. Out of the way, Jennifer Aniston.
Okay.
Could have also had Bruce Almighty. That's a better movie. The Men.
Yeah, they're a little trickier.
I'm almost certain David Schwimmer was one of them in Madagascar.
Yes.
So can I have
That's
that?
a good one. You can have that.
Matt LeBlanc.
That was the tricky one for the guy doing the podcast. He couldn't think of anything.
My God. Matthew Perry?
I was able to come up with a couple things for both of them, actually.
Ooh, Matthew Perry was in that Zac Efron movie 17 Again.
Yes.
But
Okay.
Matt LeBlanc, I have no idea. Matt LeBlanc?
He hasn't done very many movies.
No, I don't
But
imagine he has.
I mean, I think there's one for sure that you should know that we actually covered on the
Really?
podcast.
No. What?
Which you forget that
Really?
you
Matt
forget he's in
LeBlanc?
it. You forget he's in it because he's not like a main character, but he's in it.
Oh, I think is it one of the Jeannine movies, the late 90s, early 2000s teen movies?
I mean, not teen, but you know.
Oh, it's one.
There are 3 movies I know him to be in, for sure.
I honestly
4,
can't.
I guess you could say 4. Technically,
I can't do LeBlanc. I can't do Matt LeBlanc.
All right. Well, the movies I would have picked for him are the Charlie's Angels movies. He's Lucy Liu's boyfriend, the actor. He also did this terrible baseball movie with a monkey called Ed.
Oh my God.
And he was in the movie remake of the TV series Lost in Space with William Hurt and
wow. Okay.
I think Heather Graham. Yeah.
Okay. Matt LeBlanc.
Yeah. So those are like his main movies: the Charlie's Angels movies, Lost in Space, and Ed, a baseball movie with a monkey.
I vaguely do recall him in the Charlie's Angels movies.
Yes, he was
barely in them,
actor.
though, wasn't he?
He was her actor boyfriend. He has that whole scene with John Cleese where he's like watering her plants.
Yes,
yeah. And John Cleese thinks she's some kind of escort, and he's not helping clarify the situation at all.
For God's sake.
Yes. So
mad. That's a good. I like that.
Yes, I saw them doing it. Like they also did like similarly to movies with ghosts in the title. Their challenge was name 10 movies with American in the title. So yes, so
that'd be a good one as well. Am I doing that now?
I mean, if you want to, or we can call it right now.
We could call it. The episode is a little lengthy.
Yeah.
we could call the episode for today, but we may come back to the American question.
Yeah.
And then perhaps British question.
Well. What movies that just say British in the title?
Yes, That British Man is a movie. That's one of those movies where an American woman falls in love with a very stereotypical Londoner, and it's a B movie. It's made for the Hallmark Channel. It's called That.
It sounds like you're totally making it up.
And you have to say it like that as well.
The British Man.
In that kind of bouncy way.
The British Man. Like that.
And
do that little head bobble.
Real stereotype.
That sounds so made up.
It is made up. That's why.
Yes.
It's a fake movie. I've just created it. Starring. For some reason, I was going to say Carrie Underwood. That makes no sense at all. That makes absolutely no sense at all. What?
Not even a British man.
Jeannine, call the show. Please,
well, thank you.
Mind.
Thank you for checking out another episode of Monday Madness with Morgan and the Machine. We had fun talking CinemaCon today, along with movies where we know the ending, but we still get excited to watch, and had some fun challenging games for Morgan. I think we had some fun today. Did you have fun today, Morgan?
Yes, we always do on Monday Madness. It's a great show. It is not the only show we have on the It's a Wonderful podcast feed, nor is it the only thing we have on this YouTube channel. If you are watching on YouTube, subscribe, ding the notification bell up there if you haven't already. Leave your likes, leave your comments on what you thought. Was I getting a bit too angry about
I think you made up for it with your I think you made up for it with your enthusiasm for your choice movies.
Yes. Was I getting too enthusiastic about that?
You did a bicycle kick on camera.
I did, yes, I did. Was I a little bit too harsh calling Denzel Washington old ass Denzel?
Yes. Trying.
trying to still do action movies. Sorry, Den. Oh,
If you
please
watch
never
this,
bring that up
Denzel
if I ever meet
Washington.
Denzel Washington.
Yes, that's the first thing I'm gonna say.
I'm sorry,
You said you're too
Denzel.
old.
I'll do anything for you, Denzel. I will. I'm sorry. Anything. I mean anything. I don't mean anything. I don't mean anything. Most things.
Most things, maybe.
Most things.
Okay.
But no, it is not the only thing you can find on this YouTube channel. We have Morgan's movie collection. Jeannine has recently put up a whole big vlog of Scream tours. She visited locations from Scream. This is
Yeah.
Jeannine's dream. There's a whole vlog.
Yes.
It's a
I got
big
to
thing.
go
It's like half an hour.
Yeah, I got to go to the big house in the end of the first Scream movie, 261 Turner Lane, do a tour of it, and also go to subsequent filming locations that were in that area. So it was a really fun
Yeah.
trip, and I share kind of all my pictures and videos and behind the scenes, and yeah, so just a great experience if you're a Scream fan. So if you are a Scream fan and you want to see how, you know, going to Woodsboro for real, what that looks like, check out my video.
Yes, Morgan's movie collection, as well as a bunch of other stuff on this channel. You can actually just about see in the bottom right of my little square, if you are watching, some of the things that will be coming up on Morgan's movie collection, but you can't tell what they are. But you can
Just have to
actually
watch
see
the
that
video
they're
to
there,
see.
can't you? You
Okay.
can just about see that they're there. But yes, it is also not the only show we have on the feed, either the main feed, the It's a Wonderful podcast feed on all major podcast platforms. This show is every Monday, or most Mondays. We have Morgan Hasn't Seen every Wednesday, where Jeannine makes me watch movies that I haven't seen in nice curated series. It's always a fun time on Morgan Hasn't Seen. We're starting a game movies series this week, starting with Tag from 2018, which is an extreme game of tag, if I've ever seen one in my
Very
entire
extreme.
life, which I have now. We also have the main show, It's a Wonderful Podcast, every Friday, where we celebrate old movies, we show love to them, we discover new old movies, and we give them all a nice little platform to say, here, old movie, you deserve love. Please watch this old movie, and not every other regurgitated sequel with a stupid name like The Exorcist, I'm a Believer. Even though I'm into seeing that movie very much, so point stands. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we have you covered on the It's a Wonderful podcast feed, like I said. It's also scrolling down at the bottom of the screen if you are watching here. If you would like to support us on Patreon or donating in a such way, there are links in the description of this episode to do that as well. We can't do what we do here without that generous support. We love all our patrons very, very dearly. We really do. Or, of course, you can just find us on social media, on Twitter, at It's a Wonderful One. You can find me on Twitter at The Purple Dawn with a 3 instead of the E and the, because, Jeannine.
3 is the magic number.
On Instagram and TikTok at The Purple Dawn. All your delightful stuff is where?
You can find me at Jeannine__ on Twitter, Jeannine on Instagram and TikTok. If you want to get any merch for any of our shows, check the scrolling link below or the description, or just search It's a Wonderful Podcast on teespring.com. We have some really fun designs over there, all the logos for our shows, some fun Stranger Things designs, so check it out if you want merch. And if you want to purchase any of my art in print form, you can find that in my Big Cartel shop, g9design.bigcartel.com. And apologies for my different surroundings. The time of filming this was in LA, visiting friends and watching the Big Thing comedy show. So, yes, I'm in LA at the time of filming this episode. So, yes, weird background.
Well, people might have thought you were just in a different part of the house.
Well, you know, I'm usually in my custom machine backdrop. So
yes, you are. Yes, you are. But I'm sure you will be forgiven. Much like I hope I am forgiven for my indiscretions during today's episode.
As long as you take accountability, Morgan.
Certainly, I'm well aware of what I've done, and it was wrong.
Yes, thank you. Appreciate that.
And I'm going to now go and watch High Noon, probably. Jeannine, there's only one thing left to do. I mean, I don't really know how to do it. I don't. So just go ahead, count us down.
3, 2, 1.
Bye.